All right, our featured speaker now is Jeremy Brecker. I'll be honest, I'd never heard of Jeremy, and I decided to do the old Google thing, and I found out that at the very top of his list of things that he does is he works for public radio and public television. And that's almost as good as somebody that works for the steelworkers of the AFL-CIO as far as I'm concerned, because most of the rest of television is pretty much crap, unless it's the programs that I watch. So without further ado, our keynote speaker, please.
Thank you. And if this doesn't sound right, let me know. If it's too loud, too soft, or is not in between where it belongs, just wave a hand or shout out at me. I'd like to start just by saying how great it is to be speaking along with the singing and playing of David Rovix. As he mentioned, we grew up in the same town. That town of Torrington that John Brown came from is 2 towns away from our town of Cornwall. And I'll tell you one more even odder detail. In this town of Cornwall, which has a population of about 1,500, there are 2 kind of old, almost communes that go back to the 1920s. One is called Yelping Hill, and I grew up there, and the other is called Dark Entry Forest, and he grew up there. And I've been listening to him singing since he began doing topical songs, and listening to him today, I would say you can learn more about history from one David Rovix song than you're likely to learn from a whole course in a lot of colleges. So I'd like to just give an extra applause here to David Rovix. Now, I'm more of a writer than a speaker, and I usually sit at home at my desk and put my seatbelt on to try to keep writing. But when I was invited to speak at a commemoration of the Great Upheaval of 1877, and in St. Louis no less, did you guys say St. Louis or St. Louis? St. Louis. In St. Louis no less, I couldn't resist. And so I want to thank the people that organized this, and I want to thank all of you for coming and for inviting me. But I want to thank you even more for your recognition of the importance of history, your recognition of the importance of class and class struggle, and your recognition of your own heritage and the fact that right here in Granite City, right here in this region, and definitely in St. Louis, there is a labor history that we all can learn from and that can help us address the questions that we face today. And I'm going to talk mostly about the questions and problems we face today, but I'm going to draw on the experience of the Great Upheaval and the experience of the St. Louis General Strike to indicate some of the things that we might think of, some of the history that might give us a little sense of the power of working people and what we ought to be hoping to accomplish in our work that grows out of reflecting on some of this history. Above all, I want to frame this by saying that for 1877, and again today, we need to think in terms of a deep crisis of capitalism, and we need to think in terms of alternatives that in one way or another can be summed up in the idea of production for use. And we've heard many different versions and reflections on this. It's a very broad concept. There are many, many different ways at different times that people have tried to realize it, but that broad concept that we should be doing our work, our country's work, our world's work, in order to make the things we need and produce the services we need, whether or not someone can make a profit off it, is, I think, an idea that was definitely expressed in St. Louis in 1877, and we've heard it expressed here today. Now, the great upheaval of July 1877 was a movement that was widely portrayed as a violent rebellion. You heard the song that David Rovick sung with its roots in the Paris Commune, and when you read newspaper accounts and politicians' speeches from the July days, so to speak, of 1877, you find over and over again references to the Paris Commune, references to that revolutionary movement, and fears that that is what workers in the United States are turning to. And 1877 did not represent the beginning of a revolutionary movement like the Commune, but it definitely did represent the breaking out of class struggle in the United States as a central feature of American life. It had been there before, but this was the announcement, this was the calling card that class and class struggle were going to be central realities of American life for more than a century. Now, the outlines of the story, which have been mentioned before, were that railroad workers struck, starting in a little town called Martinsburg, West Virginia, and they closed eventually virtually all the railroads in the United States, which were the major industrial enterprises of a rapidly growing American society. Crowds battled or won over police, state militias, and federal troops. Roving crowds and general strikes halted work in a dozen major cities, including St. Louis. And also East St. Louis was sort of a semi-independent but merged in movement.